So the biggest thing with short-term rentals is the cash flow, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways in real estate investing, and long-term rentals in today's market's a little bit tougher because the prices are high, the interest rates are high, and a good deal you might be able to cash flow $200 or $300 a month, maybe 400 or 500 a month if you're lucky. Where in the short-term rental game, we're cash flowing two, three, four, $5,000 a month. My most recent purchase and have a net income of about $30,000 to $35,000. So right at about a 20% cash on cash return. And it's one of the few investment categories right now that you can still hit those kind of numbers.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Joe Rohne, who is very busy. He is a property manager, investor, realtor. He heads up the Savvy Emerald Coast Group, and he also has a mastermind called the Co-Host Collective Mastermind. So we're going to get into a lot of different areas of real estate, and I'm excited to have you here, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So let's get to the beginning. You've obviously really diversified yourself within the real estate community. How did you fall in love with it to begin with?
I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Years ago, bought a preschool. That's how we actually got into entrepreneur. We didn't just buy the business, we bought the land, we bought the building, the whole works. And that was like our first major real estate purchase. It took a little while longer to be able to jump into the real estate investing side. That didn't actually happen until about 2022. I had been a realtor for about 6 years or 5 years before that. And I knew I wanted to get into real estate investing. I didn't know what avenue I wanted to go in. So I was listening to podcasts and reading books and doing audible books and anything I could to just digest as much information I could. And I realized short-term rentals is the avenue I wanted to go. And when we decided to go all in, we went all in.
That's amazing. So you bought this preschool to kind of get started. I feel like that's a very big first project.
It is. We took, we did what everyone tells you not to do. We took all of our eggs and put them all in one basket, took out all the equity of our house, our Ks, any savings we had. We were mid-20s and said, we want to own a preschool. And my wife had been running one for a long time. And we put everything we possibly had into it. And 18 years later, it's still running really, really well. And we have about a 1-year waiting list for almost every classroom. So
that's so impressive. So your wife had experience in it. So that's awesome. And it's great to have your first project go well. I feel like that can deter a lot of people if it doesn't go well.
Yes, very much.
So, now you're kind of into the short-term rentals game. What about it do you like? What is the opportunity there for people?
So the biggest thing with short-term rentals is the cash flow, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways in real estate investing, and long-term rentals in today's market's a little bit tougher because the prices are high, the interest rates are high, and a good deal you might be able to cash flow $200 or $300 a month, maybe 400 or 500 a month if you're lucky. Where in the short-term rental game, we're cash flowing $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. My most recent purchase that I own is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath with an in-ground pool that we bought for about $745, and we're going to do right around $140,000.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And have a net income of about $30,000 to $35,000. So right at about a 20% cash on cash return. And it's one of the few investment categories right now that you can still hit those kind of numbers.
That's amazing. And you're in a very good area for short-term rentals, correct?
I am. So we chose Panama City Beach, and I chose the Emerald Coast for a couple reasons. And the coast is a regional drivable destination. So when you think about what are some opportunities down the road that we could have, economic downturn or recession, any of those types of things. Well, if you're in a flyable market, you're going to have a bigger negative impact in a market that you have to fly to. But in an area where 70+% of our guests are driving, they may not go on vacation for 7 nights. They may only go on 3 or 4 nights. And
Mhm.
even this year, when nationwide travel, I think I read a report that it's down about 12% nationwide as far as travel this year. My properties, all but one, are up more than 10% over the year before.
Wow. And that, I mean, we talked a little before and you said you're going to relocate there, but for the most part, you've been doing this essentially remotely, correct?
Yeah, yeah. My wife and I actually reside in the St. Louis area. I've lived here my whole life. That's where our preschool is. But when we wanted to invest in short-term rentals, we wanted to be in a traditional vacation rental market. Now, there are people that invest in suburban short-term rentals and urban STRs, and all of those numbers can work. They just weren't for us. We wanted to be in a vacation rental market, and it's about a 10, 11-hour drive for us to get to the beach. And there's also a local airline here that I can get there pretty quickly for about $150. So we really, really like being in the Emerald Coast, and that's where we decided to invest.
That's incredible. And I mean, it seems like that was a great investment if you guys are up 10% when travel is down. And talk more about managing these properties remotely for someone who's wanting to kind of invest in an area that they don't reside in themselves. What are kind of the hardships of it? What are the lessons you've learned?
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about vacation rental management over the last 30 years, it wasn't really until the new technology came out. It used to be you buy a house at the beach and you have to go to a local property manager who's going to have people there all the time. And you pay them 15, 20, 25%, whatever it may be, because you don't have the technology. And today, I manage a total of 14 properties between the ones we either own or co host, and they're all well away from where I live, but I can manage everything from my phone. Everything from guest communication to scheduling the cleaners, local handyman, any maintenance. Everything is at the tip of my fingers, and I don't have to actually be there. Now that I do go visit my properties regularly, usually every couple months. I do put my hands on them and see them because there's things that happen, and I still want to make sure that we have a high quality product all the time, but I do rely on my local boots on the ground, and they do a really phenomenal job.
Amazing. And yeah, so property management is another area that you're very skilled in and you've been able to scale. So talk more about getting into that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, it kind of went hand in hand. We bought 2 short-term rentals back in 2022. Did one with just my wife and I, and then I had a business partner that wanted to buy one that didn't really know the business very well. So he asked if I'd partner with him. So we ended up buying 2 back in early 2022. And I started managing them right away from afar. And I realized I was outperforming the market like within the 6 months. Most people said a 2-bedroom, 2-bath would max about $30,000, maybe 35. I ended up doing over $65,000 in my 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And I was able to do that because I'm managing it on a daily basis. I'm managing the revenue management. I was, handling the guest communication, making sure we get all 5-star reviews. And, these big property management companies, they're great. But when you have 100, 200, 300 properties, how are they managing your property and your revenue management? So we were able to outpace the competition really quickly and started kind of jumping into what we call co-hosting, which is a similar, basically it's property management, but typically on a little bit lower scale. And we started managing for some other owners and going in there and helping them perform at a very high level.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
That's amazing. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that a more boutique approach can provide people with better service. I mean, with property management, it's not really a one size fits all thing where you can just automate it.
Yep, it isn't. And my wife and I, we are very selective. So one of the things we actually do, my wife's a designer, so we require anyone that wants us to manage their properties for us to be able to go in and redesign and make their property stand out, right? We only want to have what we call super properties. We only want to have the best of the best because those are the ones that are going to be able to perform at a higher level. And I'll give an example. I have two houses side by side. We redesigned one next door. They're both identical, 5 bedroom, 5.5 bath, in-ground pool, hot tub, and the local property manager on the property next to us, which is identical, their design was pretty subpar. They did about $102,000. We did 220 with the identical property by going in
Wow.
and doing a new design, getting really awesome photos, and making that property stand out. We made that owner over $100,000 more than their next door neighbor.
Wow, that's incredible. And what are some of like the design tricks that you've learned that really help?
My favorite word is scroll stopping photos, right? We see that scroll stopping photo and say, "Ooh, look at that. I want to see it some
Right.
more in that." And then as they go through your photos, you need to have really great design and great pictures. And we're doing wallpaper murals in every bedroom or doing some, kind of like what you see behind me with, wood and dark walls. We're adding sunsets to pictures. We're even doing lifestyle photos. So we'll actually have actors, or families come into our photos that go into our Airbnb and VRBO listings of them actually playing golf, the little putting green in the backyard, or jumping into the pool, or sitting in their bunk bed, read a book. And when you can tell that story and you're creating that experience for someone, your property is going to perform at a much higher level than the one that has just average photos.
Absolutely. I mean, it's true that the extra care goes a long way. I mean, it's the same way you would treat a house that you're selling. So it's the same,
Yes.
similar concept for sure. And so you are also a part of, on top of all of this, you're a part of Savvy STR group and you're heading up the Emerald Coast group. Tell us more about getting, your real estate license and how did that start?
Yeah, so I became a realtor back in St. Louis, back before pre-COVID, is when I got my license. And at the time, I owned a little lawn and landscape business, just that I was doing on the side, making a little extra money. But I wanted to get into real estate. I got my license in St. Louis, and I got it because I wanted to get into real estate investing. But in the beginning, I was just helping, homeowners, some
Right.
investors find some long-term rentals here in St. Louis. I was helping friends and family buy and sell some properties, and it just kind of slowly grew. But when I bought my short-term rental in Panama City Beach, what I realized is there were very few real estate agents that truly understood short-term numbers.
Yeah.
And if you own a property and you manage a property in a market, it makes you much more of an expert. So if I figured out if I get my license there as well, I can help investors actually truly understand how to run short-term rentals, help them get their boots on the ground and make a big impact. And that's the reason why I ended up getting my license in Florida. And then about a year ago, I joined the Savvy STR Agents team, which is a nationwide team, mostly in vacation rental markets where we have specific agents that they all own or manage in their markets as well. And it gives us that competitive advantage to be able to take our clients and help them find good cash flowing properties.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Amazing. And what are some things that you find? Because you mentioned that, you really know the short term game and that helps you as a realtor. What do some realtors miss? And or what do they not understand about short terms that can end up hurting someone who's trying to invest?
So data is probably number one, right? I mean, there's a ton of different data platforms, but most real estate agents don't actually dig into the data. They'll just call the local property manager and say, "Hey, what do you think this property can do?" And then they'll go
Mhm.
tell their client, "Hey, they say it's going to do this." Or they'll go into one of these free calculators and type in the address, and it'll take all the averages of 500 properties around there and say, "Oh, we think it'll do this." We actually I'm sorry, we dig into the data and say, "Okay, what are the top 5 properties doing?" And you can actually go to data sites like AirDNA or STRIQ, and it
Mhm.
is paid for data. We do pay high dollar for that, but it will give us real-time data on what type of revenue those top properties are doing. So then we can say, okay, well, if this property is doing $200,000 and the a very similar property is listed for 1 million, let's just say $1 million, we're talking about a 20% plus grow or 50% gross ROI, which is ridiculous numbers. Let's run that, put it into a pro form, put it into a spreadsheet, run the numbers to make sure all the numbers make sense. What's the real insurance, what's the utility cost, what's, if there is an HOA, what does that cost look like, and make sure that whatever investor we're working with, that we're able to meet the goals they're looking for. And every investor is different. Some are looking for that 20% ROI, but
Mhm.
in the Emerald Coast, some people are just looking for that second home loan that they can stay in 5 or 6 times a year, and they're just happy it pays for itself.
Right.
So we just got to figure out what that investor is looking for and see if we can find a property that meets their needs.
Amazing. And you really can handle the whole end to end process of this. You really understand everything and you're very involved in all of it.
Yeah, I think it's what gives us a big advantage in helping these clients. I've sold almost $18 million worth of short-term rentals just since
Wow.
January of this year. And it's been a lot of clients that have found some really great properties. And I really, really enjoy it. I truly want to try to put investors in a position to be successful. As they say, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink it. I do not manage properties for any real estate clients. Those are completely separate businesses. If a real estate client says, "Hey, I want you to sell me a property and I want you to design and manage it," I have people I refer for that. I want to keep those completely separate. I want to be able to focus on that client for whatever it is they're looking for, and help them meet that goal.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool that you're able to really focus like that so things don't get jumbled up. And so you
Yeah,
have
it's
so
really
much.
easy for someone to say, "Oh, I have the one size fits all. Come see me," with one client and way too many things. And then if something goes wrong, there's only one person to blame, right?
Right.
And I would much rather, put that person in, and I really want most people to self-manage, right? Because if they can self-manage the property, they're gonna make the most amount of money. And I have some training videos and things that I've done for my clients to teach them what I do in self-managing so they are set up for that success.
Wow. And so, yeah, you have so much going on. You have, the investment side, you have the property management, and now you have this team under you. What are some of your tricks of time management? How do you keep everything organized?
I definitely use a planner every single day. Obviously I have my Google Calendar I do have an executive assistant, so she helps schedule all the meetings and keep
Mhm.
me straight on my Google Calendar, helps stay in my email. But then each morning, well, on every Sunday, my wife and I sit down and we write out what does our week look like, right? And I couldn't do it without my wife. She's, my backbone. She's amazing. And we sit down and write out, okay, what are our tasks that we got to complete? And then we write it out for the day. So this morning before I started my day, or I actually did it last night, I said, okay, from 7 to 7:30, I'm working on this. And from 7:30 to 8:30, it's this. And so every hour is kind of mapped out. Now, of course, things come up and things change. And that's why I don't write out every day for the week. But at the end of the day, I take 30 minutes and say, okay, I got all this done. This is on tomorrow. I need to make adjustments because I didn't get these things done. And let's plan out the next day. And without that daily planner, I'll be honest, if I don't write that out, that's my biggest opportunity. I get really scatterbrained because I have 1,000 things going on and I'm trying to do it all. And, it's really important to stay focused.
Yeah, it's easy for things to slip through the cracks when everything feels like a priority, especially.
It is. And it's easy to say, okay, I'm doing this, but then something else comes up. And I actually use the Grant Cardone 10X planner if anyone's ever used that before, but it gives you that hour by hour breakdown, and it really works for me.
And that's a great resource. So, just to kind of wrap this up, what would be a piece of advice that you wish you learned early in your career that you can share with us?
My very first short-term rental, actually my first 2 that I bought back in 2022, they made money, but they weren't home runs. And I, at that time, didn't understand how the data really worked and how to really underwrite it the best way possible. And the agent that I was working with definitely was not an expert in that area. So we did a little bit more of buying based on our gut feeling instead of the data.
Uh-huh.
And I wish, my newest property we did strictly on the data,
Yeah.
and the newest property is gonna get us that 20+% cash on cash return, where the first one were, not bad investments, but I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that have done what we did and weren't as fortunate as we did, and they made bad investments, and they went out and bought a property wrong. They overpaid for it. They didn't do the design that they wanted. They didn't, and then they wanted to hire a property manager, and then they come to us later and say, "How do I fix this? I'm losing $50,000 a year." Well,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, at that point, it's really hard to reinvent the wheel. Buying right up front is by far the most important thing that you can do. And you got to have a data driven decision, not just your feelings.
And what kind of data are you looking at? Like, and where do you source it?
So, AirDNA, STRIQ, these are 2. Data Rabu is another one. They are short term rental data sites that you can go in and find specific properties and look at what kind of revenue they're doing, what kind of average daily rate. We also have some information in the dynamic pricing tool that I use called Price Labs, and I'm able to get some data in there as well. And then some of it now, because I am managing a dozen properties in the Florida Panhandle, I have real time data from real stuff that's happening because I've been managing for the last 3 years. So now I don't need to necessarily go to those websites as much because I have real data what I'm using on a day in and day out basis. So I'm seeing the trends, I'm seeing, when it's slow, when it's not. I mean, for instance, that property that did $200,000, I might get $1,800 in July. I just got a booking for next week for $325 a night because this time of year, it's a slower
Uh-huh.
time of year where July is peak season. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to drop $1,000 a night," and then they sit empty all winter long because if you can rent a beachfront house for less than you're 2 blocks from the beach, then those people are going to rent the beachfront house, or the hotels that are on the beach and cheaper. So you got to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good advice to really look at the data. And it's like great that you have all of these tools at your access. I feel like that makes you such a good partner to work with.
Yeah, having that, I mean, and we're partners with all of those data websites. When investors
Yeah.
go to those data websites and are looking in our areas, they actually get our information right from some of those data centers to be able to connect directly with me or whatever market they're looking in. We have agents in Asheville, North Carolina, and Northeast Florida and South Florida, and Pigeon Forge, and all the Branson. So we have agents all over in these vacation rental markets. So depending on what market you're interested in, you can get hooked up with a savvy agent in that area, which is great because at the end of the day, every market is investable. If you can find, a friend of mine calls it the moat. If you can find that unique property or that specific niche that's going to be the most successful, you
Mhm.
can you can do really, really well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. You've given everybody such good insight and good advice. So tell everyone where to find you.
Yeah, you can schedule a call with me at savvy.realty/Joe. I am very, very active on social media. Joe Rohne, Rohne. You can find me on either Facebook or Instagram. No special, anything else. I'm usually out in the forums, very, very active in those areas as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today.
And thank you to everyone for listening. I hope that you learned a lot, and we will see you back next time.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.